Think about it this way, Star Trek has given us some of the most iconic and brilliant episodes in TV history, like The City on the Edge of Forever. That one's considered a masterpiece, even outside of science fiction. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got Spock's Brain, which is considered one of the worst. Together, they show that even the best shows can have highs and lows. And sometimes, the lows are just as memorable as the highs. So what do we take away from all this? Well, for one thing, it shows us that no matter how legendary something is, mistakes happen. Bad ideas slip through. Not everything is going to be perfect. And honestly, that's part of what makes a show like Star Trek feel so human. It wasn't flawless, but it pushed boundaries and told stories no one else was telling. And here's a fun little twist, some fans actually argue that Spock's Brain is enjoyable because it's bad. They watch it to laugh, to poke fun, and to remind themselves that even geniuses can stumble. In a way, it's comforting. Because if a show as iconic as Star Trek can have a disaster episode and still go on to become a global phenomenon, maybe it's okay if we all have our own Spock's Brain moments in life. Now, I want to turn this over to you. Have you ever watched a TV episode that was so bad it actually made you laugh? One of those episodes where you couldn't believe it made it on the air? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your picks, because we've all seen something that made us shake our heads and laugh at the same time. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Star Trek's most embarrassing hour, I've got another video that digs into how classic TV mistakes actually shaped the way modern sci-fi is made. I think you'll find it just as fun and eye-opening. Before you go, don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this story. Subscribe to the channel if you love hearing about the behind-the-scenes drama and surprising facts from the world of TV and movies. And tap that notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And remember, sometimes the worst episodes end up giving us the best stories to tell. Instead of being intense or thought-provoking, the whole thing turned into this awkward mix of bad dialogue, over-the-top acting, and moments that felt more silly than serious. Take Leonard Nimoy, for example. He was an incredibly talented actor, and Spock was one of the most fascinating characters on television at the time. But in this episode, he literally had to walk around like a zombie because his character didn't have a brain. Just picture that. Nimoy, this respected actor, shuffling across the set with a blank expression, pretending he had no thoughts in his head. It was painful to watch, not because of him, but because the script gave him nothing to work with. Even William Shatner, who was known for his dramatic delivery, seemed to struggle with this one. There are moments in the episode where you can almost see him trying not to laugh at how absurd the scenes were. And the rest of the cast? They gave it their all, but deep down, everyone seemed to know this wasn't going to be a highlight of their careers. So why was it so bad? That's the big question. Here's the thing about TV in the 1960s, production schedules were brutal. Studios demanded a lot of episodes each season, and writers didn't always have the luxury of time to polish every script. Sometimes, ideas that weren't very strong slipped through the cracks simply because something, anything, needed to be filmed to meet the deadline. And that's pretty much how Spock's Brain happened. Behind the scenes, the cast was not happy. Years later, they openly admitted just how embarrassing it was. Leonard Nimoy himself said the story was painfully bad. Other actors joked about how ridiculous it was, and some even said it was one of the worst experiences of the entire series. Imagine being proud of your groundbreaking show, then being asked about that episode for the rest of your life. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite being so widely mocked, Spock's Brain actually gained a weird kind of fame. Fans love to rewatch it, laugh at it, and quote some of its most ridiculous lines. It became one of those "so bad it's good" episodes. Instead of disappearing into the shadows, it stuck around as a cult favorite. People still talk about it 57 years later. And in a strange way, that embarrassment helped keep Star Trek's legacy alive, because even its failures became part of the fun. Have you ever watched something that was so awkward, so off, that you couldn't help but cringe for the people who made it? You know that secondhand embarrassment you feel when someone is trying their best, but everything about the moment feels wrong? Well, believe it or not, even one of the most legendary shows in television history, Star Trek, had one of those moments. Yep, we're talking about the original Star Trek. The one that gave us Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, the Enterprise, and an entire universe of adventure. The same series that inspired real-life scientists, engineers, astronauts, and even entire generations of dreamers. A show that broke barriers and created one of the biggest fandoms the world has ever seen. That same groundbreaking series had an episode so bad, so ridiculous, that even the cast themselves were embarrassed to be in it. And here's the kicker, this wasn't some forgotten side project. This was an actual episode that went on the air 57 years ago. The actors had to film it. Fans had to watch it. And once you hear what the episode was about and how it played out, you're probably going to laugh, shake your head, and maybe even feel a little sympathy for the cast. Because trust me, it's that cringy. So, what was this episode? Why did it turn out so badly? And how on earth did something like this even make it into one of the most iconic series of all time? That's exactly what we're going to talk about. Stick with me, because this story is part comedy, part tragedy, and part, you just can't make this up. Let's go back in time. The year was 1968. Star Trek, the original series, was in its second season. The show wasn't quite the mega hit it is now, but it had a growing fan base. People were tuning in week after week to see Captain Kirk, Spock, Bones, Uhura, Scotty, and the rest of the crew boldly go where no one had gone before. It was new, it was fresh, and it was unlike anything else on TV at the time. And then came an episode called Spock's Brain. Even the title sounds a little strange, right? You hear it, and immediately you're like, wait, what do you mean Spock's Brain? It almost feels like a parody title, like something you'd hear in a sketch comedy show making fun of sci-fi. But nope. It was a real Star Trek episode. Here's the basic setup. The episode starts with Spock suddenly collapsing because his brain, yes, his actual brain, has been stolen by a mysterious alien woman. Kirk and the crew then have to go on this mission to track down the missing brain, figure out who took it, and somehow, some way, put it back. Now, if you're thinking, that actually sounds kind of interesting, I get it. On paper, it could have been a cool sci-fi story. The idea of someone stealing a brain is wild, but maybe it could have worked if written in a clever way. But the execution? Oh boy. Let's just say it didn't exactly hit the mark.